grace of God, such a devotee gets sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances, and gradually all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. When you are able to eliminate all disturbing elements from the mind, then your mind is very peaceful, it becomes your friend, and then the mind becomes like a sponge that soaks up spiritual knowledge. You're not disturbed by anything in the material world. But as long as we're disturbed by things in the material world, you can't focus, you can't memorize, you can't think clearly. Right? Just like yesterday, there was a policeman, right? There's a deputy policeman, and he and his girlfriend had a big argument, and it shows, there's a video of him killing her. Well, he tried to kill her. He wounded her very seriously. She's in the hospital, but he killed himself. That's called an act of passion, right? Because they broke up. First of all, this boyfriend-girlfriend thing is a nonsense, another nonsense. It just disturbs the minds of young kids. They're too young to understand anything about it. And if there's a breakup, it's devastating. But these are not kids, these are adults, right? And one of them is a policeman. He goes and shoots her. He thought he killed her, and then he killed himself. It's an act of passion due to a highly disturbed mental state. And what was he upset about? She wasn't, he wanted to move his furniture out of her apartment. He bought this furniture. You see how stupid people are. He bought this furniture. He bought a bed and things like that. So it's like, you know, the man's 30 years old. He's never grown up, right? And he does a very, very stupid thing like that, you know, because he had no spiritual knowledge at all. And the mind is severely agitated by something nonsensical like that. So what? If he loses the furniture, so what? You know, he can never have furniture again? You know, it's crazy. You know. But see, this is the problem today. There's no spiritual knowledge at all. No one's interested in going back to God. They're interested in shooting themselves and shooting others that they hate. So, Krishna, mercy for a good devotee is, he gives him sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances, and gradually all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. That is real benediction of Krishna. Okay, so I think we covered. Yeah, so you want to put that verse 1423, right? Or you can put the whole thing, all 4 verses, 22 to 25. Those are very good verses. These verses explain how to recognize a person who's transcendental to the modes of material nature. Now, be careful. Even Mayavadis can be transcendental to the modes of material nature. Even Mayavadis. That doesn't mean they love Krishna. But they are able to achieve a state transcendental to the modes of material nature. See? That doesn't mean they're completely free of all desires. They still have the desire to become God. But they can free themselves from the influence of the modes of material nature by achieving this neutral state, where it says "Samaduka sukha swasta samalostra kanchana tulya priya priyo diras tulya nandat mana samstuta," which means that who looks upon a lump of earth, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal toward the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor. So that Mayavadis can also reach that state. But they don't reach because of their misconception about Brahman. They don't reach the state of pure love of Krishna. That's why they can fall down. Boy, Mayapur, another question. Let's see, we can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Turn it on. Turn it on.
When Amina was getting her car, I told you like 5 times. Well,
You met a Mayavadi.
so he
The Mayavadi.
said,
You met one guy who was selling his car, who was a Mayavadi, but because he was a Mayavadi, you didn't buy his car, right?
no. But since it had like some problem with the engine, like
Yeah.
it would just go like. Brum, brum, brum.
Okay, you can ask the question after the opening of the deities.
Yashomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damana Vidana Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasta Vipina Purandara Navina Nagaravora Bamsi Badana Suvasa Prajajana Palana Surakulana Sana Prajajana Palana Surakulana Sana Nanda Daudana Rakovala Govinda Madhava Navarita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navarita Taskara Sundarananda Gopala Yamuna Tattachara Gopi Basana Hara Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabana Bhakti Vinodashaya Yashomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damana Vidana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jayo Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radha. Jayo Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radha. Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Baladeva, Jayo Subhadra. Jayo Sitaram, Jayo Sitaram, Jayo Sitaram, Jayo Lakshman Hanuman. Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. So, yeah, one more point that we didn't discuss. And that is the most important point. How to recognize a bona fide spiritual master. No more questions, my friend. How to recognize a bona fide spiritual master. This is the most important question because if you have a bona fide spiritual master, meaning both Siksha and Diksha gurus, then whenever there's any confusion, and there's always confusion in material life, especially for Kanishta Adhikaris, devotee unit, lowest level, they always get confused because they don't have much scriptural knowledge that's realized. They might have scriptural knowledge, but not scriptural knowledge that's realized, so that they know how to apply that knowledge in particular circumstances. So, therefore, the absolute necessity to have a spiritual master is explained by Krishna himself. Tadvidi paripatena paripasnena sevaya upatekshami te jnanam jnaninas tatvadarshanaha. I want you to approach the spiritual master with humility or submissiveness, asking important questions, and offering service. And then the next verse is very important, 435. Yajyatvana punar mohan evan yasyasi pandava yena bhutani sesani drakshasi atmani atomai. So this verse, 435, says, having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. What is the illusion? Thinking that I can control material nature and exploit it for my sense gratification. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. In other words, all living entities are coming from Krishna. They all have a relationship with Krishna, even if they have a body of an ant or a microbe or an elephant or an eagle or a snake. They're all living entities that have an eternal relationship with Krishna. So, devotee doesn't see Maya. He doesn't see in an illusory way. He knows everything in nature, in material creation, has a relationship with Krishna, and all living entities are coming from Krishna. So, quiet, no questions. So, therefore, he doesn't, he or she who is Krishna conscious, who has bona fide gurus, doesn't see things separate from Krishna. That's the whole point. They see the relationship of everything to Krishna. Now, the question is, how to recognize a bona fide spiritual master? So I've written about this in the book about faith, but we'll go over it. There are specific qualities that one must recognize in a spiritual master to be reassured that he or she is a bona fide representative of Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of ISKCON and the entire disciplic succession beginning from Lord Krishna. In other words, a spiritual master has to be a bona fide representative of Srila Prabhupada and of the entire disciplic succession coming originally from Lord Krishna. So point one, a genuine spiritual master never declares that he is God, nor does he permit his disciples to make such a declaration. He is the humble servant of a bona fide guru in the disciplic succession coming originally from Krishna. The spiritual master is also a student or a disciple of a bona fide spiritual master and going back to Krishna. So that's point one. Oftentimes these bogus gurus, they won't say they're God, but they'll let their disciples say that they're God. So neither he says it, nor does he let his disciples say such nonsense. Secondly, he must be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master in the authentic Vaishnava disciplic succession. You don't have to write these down. He's going to pass it out right now. The bona fide guru must be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master in the authentic Vaishnava disciplic succession, beginning from Lord Krishna to Brahma, to Narada, to Vyasa, and continuing through Madhvacharya, the modern proponent of the Brahma Sampradaya, to Lord Chaitanya, the incarnation of the Lord, and Bhaktivinoda Gaurkishore Babaji, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. There are three other Vaishnava disciplic successions, the Sri Vaishnavas, the Rudra Sampradaya, and the Kumara Sampradaya. They're all coming originally from Lord Krishna, and their modern proponents are Ramanujacharya, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarka Swami. The basic tenet of these, so yeah, and Lord Chaitanya is the modern proponent of the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. and Ramanujacharya for the Sri Vaishnavas, Vishnu Swami for the Rudra Sampradaya, and Nimbarka Swami for the Kumara Sampradaya. The basic tenet of these, or the basic belief of these four disciplic successions, or sampradayas, is that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all living entities are His eternal servants. No one is equal or greater than Lord Krishna. So that's point number 2. The bona fide guru must have a bona fide guru himself in the disciplic succession. Point 3. And you'll see there are many unbona fide gurus, and if you ask them what their lineage is, they say, well, I'm the disciple of so-and-so, who's a disciple of so-and-so, who's a disciple of Baba. Oh, Baba. Who's Baba? Which Baba is this? There's so many Baba. So it goes back, 1 or 2 generations, or 3 or 6 or 8 generations, but it doesn't go back to Krishna. See? It goes back to some Baba. We call him Bibapaluba. Anyway, point 3. He teaches pure bhakti yoga, unconditional love and devotion to Lord Krishna. His teaching is primarily based on the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam Vedic texts. He also takes inspiration from supplemental Vedic texts written by Rupa, Sanatana, and Jiva Goswamis, who explain the most sublime principles of pure bhakti yoga and the highest pinnacle of devotional relationships with Lord Krishna, described as Santa neutrality, Dasya servitorship, Sakya friendship, Vatsalya parental, and Madhurya conjugal, and Leelas or pastimes. Pure bhakti is defined by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Nectar Devotion. When first class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy or Mayavad philosophy, and fruitive action or self-interested selfish acts. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. Number 4, he speaks, acts, and lives by giving a perfect example of how to follow all the rules and regulations of pure bhakti yoga. His example demonstrates the spirit and the letter of the rules and regulations of pure devotion. So who knows the difference between the spirit and the letter? What does that mean? It's this phrase in English, the spirit and the letter.
The spirit is focused on intent, whereas the letter might be,
the literal.
The literal.
Yeah, definition, yes. So if the literal definition says no intoxication, so what is the spirit of that? Well, someone can say, well, no intoxication, but there's nothing wrong with coffee. I mean, it's not like bad as marijuana, or I can certainly drink some coffee. Well, they're not following the spirit of the law now. Neither are they following, the literal sense of the law, right? Coffee is an intoxicant, but they can, like for example, someone says, well, if you don't believe in Krishna, then you're a demon. Right. Well, that's literal understanding. But the spirit is that, okay, but everyone's a demon. So what are we going to do to help the demons become devotees, right? You just can't reject. Just like when Lord Chaitanya was going to kill Jagai and Madai, Lord Nityananda fell at his feet and begged him. He said, Lord, my Lord, he said, you came in this world, you're called Patita Pavana. Now, these two, Jagai and Madai, are the most fallen. But if you can save them, then there's hope for the rest of society. So because Nityananda begged him like that, Lord Chaitanya spared Jagai and Madai. But he gave them a serious warning, a caveat. And he said, I'm going to forgive you because of Lord Nityananda's begging me like this. And so they had injured Lord Nityananda. They almost knocked him out. He was bleeding, but he forgave them, right? He said, but he said, from this point on, no more sinning. If you sin from this point on, then you get a very severe reaction. So he forgave them. And they had committed so many sins previously. There was no reason to forgive them. But Lord Nityananda begged the Lord, and Lord Chaitanya saved them, and both of them became purified by coming in contact with Nityananda and Harivilas Thakur, and then eventually Lord Chaitanya. So, the spirit of the law is, okay, there's so many demons, understood, but what are we going to do to help them? What are we going to do to help them? You know, overcome the demoniac nature. So the spirit of the law is that one should try their best to help the demons. Now, are all demons envious? No, not necessarily. But they're addicted to demoniac activities. So the devotees are expert killers. They don't kill the person, the body of the person. They kill the person's desire to sin. That means is a real devotee. He has the ability to kill a person's desire to sin. That's high quality killing. Yeah. Right. And number 4, he speaks, acts, and lives by giving a perfect example of how to follow all the rules and regulations of pure bhakti yoga. His example demonstrates the spirit and letter of the rules and regulations of pure devotion. Number 5, he has no other interest in life except to preach and serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada and his ISKCON organization to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world for the pleasure of Lord Krishna and the benefit of humanity. Number 6, he has complete control of his faculties, meaning his mind, his senses, as described in the following verse from the Nectar of Instruction by Srila Rupa Goswami. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Number 7, there is no hint of lust, anger based on frustrated material desires, greed, illusion, madness, and envy in his behavior. He does not lament for material things he has lost, nor does he hanker for material things he lacks. He is equally disposed toward every living entity by relating to others as he would want them to relate to him. Number 8, he considers his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, as his ultimate Shiksha Guru, instructing spiritual master. He follows the standards and teaching of Srila Prabhupada as his life and soul. Number 9, his only desire is to serve the mission of Krishna consciousness as described by Lord Chaitanya in his 6 Sastakam prayers. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. Number 10, he is considered a liberated soul, even in this world, because he knows how to use everything in the service of the Lord Krishna, as described by the following verse in the Nectar of Devotion of Srila Rupa Goswami. A person acting in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, in the service of Krishna with his body, mind, intelligence, and words, is a liberated person even within this material world, although he may be engaged in so many so-called material activities. Number 11, the qualification of spiritual master is that he must have realized the conclusion of the Vedic scriptures by deliberation and arguments, and thus be able to convince others of these conclusions. Sincere devotees who have taken complete shelter of Lord Krishna, leaving aside all material considerations, are qualified to become bona fide spiritual masters. Everyone should try to find such a bona fide spiritual master in order to fulfill the mission of life, which is to purify his consciousness, engage wholeheartedly in the devotional service of Krishna, and develop pure love of the Lord. Number 12, he teaches Krishna consciousness by repeating correctly the Vedic knowledge that he has realized by hearing the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam with the commentary of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON. The more accurately he can repeat in context the original words of Lord Krishna and the commentary of the founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, the more he is a qualified guru. The above is not an exhaustive list of qualifications of a bona fide guru. It gives a basic understanding of the fundamental points. So this is the way to recognize a bona fide guru, which is essential for spiritual life. And the way to do that is by becoming a bona fide disciple before initiation. Then you'll be able to recognize a bona fide guru. If you're not a bona fide disciple, and how do you become a bona fide disciple? It's by accepting Shiksha Guru and hearing carefully the explanations and the texts of Bhagavad Gita, and following in the footsteps, following the instructions. Haribol. Okay, so are there any questions?
What is that 1422 to 25?
Those are the qualities of a person who's transcendental to the modes of material nature. But it could also be a Mayavadi. I mean, Mayavadis are following a spiritual path. Not purely, but they're following a spiritual. So they can rise above the influences of the modes of material nature, and they can merge into Brahman. It's possible. But they won't stay there forever.
So they are not bona fide gurus?
No.
No, I meant to say that people who are 14, 22, 25.
No, bona fide guru, like we just explained with
Yeah,
them.
so it is different from them.
Yes. You see, but they can attain the state transcendental to the modes of material nature. And you'll meet some people like that. They're not disturbed. They're always meditating or something, you know. It's unless you have Prabhupada's explanations, everything is spaghetti. But once you have Prabhupada's explanation, then you see all these different, let's say, fine points. Otherwise, we'll just be tricked over and over again, because the points get finer and finer and more subtle as you get closer to Krishna, but the ability to discern who is real, who's not real, gets harder as you go along. It gets harder and harder because people have mastered certain parts of the process. You can't imitate pure love of Krishna, but you can become transcendental to the modes of material nature, even without having love of Krishna. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Wait.
How we can not allow our mind to get disturbed, because of any uncertain situation comes, it suddenly get disturbed, even though few minutes back it's like in full peace, looks like. So how to avoid how we can dictate our mind not to get disturbed?
Well, if you've accepted someone or some persons as Shiksha Guru, then out of respect for Shiksha Guru, you will not do anything without getting advice. That's the only way. Okay. Like, take the example of your son, Arush, right? If he wants to jump out the window, but before he jumps out the window, he says, "Dad, I want to jump out the window. What do you think?" You say, if you had trained your son to ask whenever he's confused about something, then he's a bona fide disciple. Right? Would you want him to ask you before he jumps out the window? Right? Okay, so if you have any respect for a teacher, let's say a spiritual teacher, before you get angry, you would ask, what should I do in this case? Right? You know you're tempted to get angry, right? Just like your son, he wants to jump out the window. But because he has respect for you, he asks you first, "Dad, I want to jump out the window. Should I do it?" Right? But if he just jumps out the window, I mean, it has no respect at all. His mind has been completely lost. So, I mean, you're an adult, so you should realize the importance of this, of asking advice of a genuine spiritual authority before you get angry, before you have the luxury of getting angry or, you know, jealous or whatever. That means you actually respect a spiritual teacher. But, you know, every time you do the wrong thing, and then you come out and say, "Oh, Prabhu, I just got angry, and what should I do?" Well, you know, that means you have no respect at all. Of course, still, he'll try and give you advice, but it's not the same as, out of respect, you ask before you do it. See, most people will ask after they do it, right? See, that means they don't really have any commitment at all. You know? So, I mean, it's better than nothing, though, asking after you make a big mistake. It's better than nothing. But the real thing is asking before you make the mistake. That means, and you would want that yourself, right? Yeah. Haribol. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.